Now, it is the world's largest tree and it can live for more than 2,000 years. And now the giant redwood is thriving here in the UK.
In fact, it's doing so well here in the UK that it now outnumbers the number of trees in its native California and may soon become the tallest trees growing on our islands. Our science editor, Rebecca Morell, can explain why.
They're becoming a standout feature of our forests. Giant redwoods are the biggest trees on the planet. These native Californian wonders are fast growing and can lock up vast amounts of carbon. And now they're looming large across the landscape in the UK.
Well, these giant redwoods really live up to their name. They are suitably huge. So here are a couple of questions. How many of these trees do you think there are in their native Californian region? Well, the answer is only about 80,000. And how many giant redwoods do you think there are here in the UK? Well, you might be surprised to learn that there's an estimated 500,000, and that number is growing.
The latest stocktake shows the trees are thriving here. These giant redwoods were planted in Wakehurst in Sussex about 150 years ago, and it turns out that the damp British weather, especially a misty day like this, is good for them.
So where they grow in California is cooler and moister than you would typically envisage California. And we have a reasonably similar climate here. It's very wet, they need the moisture to grow.
The estimate of how many there are here in the UK seems to be an awful lot. I mean, were you surprised by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 500,000 trees is quite a lot to, sort of go under the radar until now. But it's when you start looking for them in the landscape and compiling these data sets together that you realise how many there are.
So here's the next question. How high do you think these trees can grow? Well, the answer is up to 90 metres tall, but this one's not quite there yet.
For their study, scientists have been using lasers to scan the trees. It means they can build up a detailed 3D picture of each one, so they can accurately measure them. This giant redwood is 46 metres tall, but the scans also let scientists calculate the weight of the tree, so they can work out how much carbon is being soaked up.
These trees, they're about 30 tonnes, which means they have about 10 to 15 tonnes of carbon stored in their tissues. Compared to the largest tree in California, which has about 250 tonnes of carbon stored in it, they're quite small, but, these could get as big.
Havering Country Park in Essex is one of the sites that's being surveyed by the researchers. It has an avenue of giant redwoods, planted to provide a grand entrance for a stately home that's no longer here. These trees were once the ultimate status symbol.
I see them all over the place, and they pop up in the kind of most weird and wonderful places. And I think partly they have this sort of iconic status because they are the biggest organisms on Earth, and they're some of the oldest organisms on Earth. So we kind of hold them in a regard of, this kind of exotic species.
Final question, how long do you think these trees can live? Well, the answer to that is a very long time. More than 2,000 years.
In California, ancient redwood forests show how colossal these trees can get, but they're under threat in their natural home from climate change. In the UK, though, they seem to be flourishing.
But in terms of climate, it's probably the case that they're going to have a less pressured existence here than they would do in California.
So this could be the new home of the giant redwood?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here they are.
Even in our foggy weather, the UK's giant redwoods are hard to miss. But there's still a lot we need to find out, like how well they fit into our forests and the heady heights they'll eventually reach. Rebecca Morell, BBC News.
I told you I was looking for a tree to plant in my garden.
Yeah, one of those.
I'm not sure I've got 100 years to wait, but...
Well, it can live for 2,000.
Trouble is, my garden's about the size of this coffee table, so...
Big day today in the Kay household, isn't it? The plants are going in.
Planting gets underway.